with Jerry and Debbie starts now.
Well, greetings. I'm Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgiani, and you and the show team. We're all together here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on this Thursday episode of the program. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. We hope you can stay the whole hour. We know you have a lot of things to do, so people tune in, tune out, tune in, tune out, but spend as much time with us as you can. And Debbie, we're going to be talking about making ourselves better today.
I need a lot of help. Making ourselves better today. A new year, a new you. That's what we're talking about today. Can you share with us some of those self-improvements, those things that you want to make in your life for this year, 2021? Resolutions, yes, but Jerry and I aren't big on resolutions because we do a lot of life coaching, and resolutions rarely ever stick. They start off, they have good intentions, right, Jerry? But then, a couple days later, you go, oh, well, that failed. I ate that cookie, or I ate that whole bag of cookies. So that's the end of that resolution. So how about some really deep improvements you want to make in your spiritual life, in your professional life, your personal lives, your families? We want to talk about this being a new year and a new you. So call in and share what you are willing to do to work on yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself. And that's what we're all called to do. I'm constantly 55 plus years working at it. So let's hear from you. 833-288-3986. Jerry, you're near perfect, so there's not much room for improvement. But what are you going to do?
Well, I know. Well, I couldn't think of anything. So,
no, but really, you're in a good. You're very well rounded.
Yes, but I have many areas where I could definitely improve. I think one of those is, and I've said this before on this program, and that is an area of patience. I tend to be somewhat, not only somewhat, but very, very impatient sometimes. And I just need to learn to, look at situations and say, not everybody has to move at my pace of life or do things the way I want them, or, I just need to be a little bit more patient as I go through life. So that's something that I definitely hope to try and work on here, not just as we have the start of a new year, but going forward. And that's what I would love to hear from you. Take Two family about today on the program at 833-288-3986. How often do you even think about making self-improvements? How often do you do, what would you call it, Debbie, sort of a personal self-evaluation, to look at those areas?
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time. I wouldn't think it's something that could be done in just, a few minutes. This is probably something that should be done over a period of time and very prayerfully, I would think.
I totally agree. But there's always room for improvement, and let's talk about it, because maybe we can support one another, affirm one another, offer prayer. So many things we can talk about, but this is a new year. It is a new you because it's a new year, all right? And we want to hear what you want to include in your life to really enhance the journey. We're on a journey. We're pilgrims on a journey, right? And we really want to be walking together as a Take Two family. So right now, we need you to fill up the phone lines, okay? We're not asking you. We're telling you, okay? Why? Because we count on you. This show should be called, although it's kind of too late to change it now after 5 years, this show should be called Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you, because you are the key person. So please, Ryan is waiting to answer your call. Here's the number, 833-288-3986. And it's easy. If you want to remember it in an easier way, 833-288-EWTN. See how cool that is, Jerry?
Very cool indeed, an easy way for you to remember the number. You can also text the letters EWTN to 55000. There might be a small data right there, but that's the text phone number. And also you can comment on the Facebook and YouTube video streams. Excuse me, we're waving to you guys out there. There's a comment section there. Jeff Burson, our social media manager, will grab some of those from there and put them on a shared document that we can see and share your comments on the program. Of course, our email address is take2@ewtn.com, and you can post a comment on the show website at take2show.com. But we do love to hear your voices, so please, if you can, use that telephone and call 833-288-3986.
So this year, I'm just going to share full disclosure. I'm going to work on really living in the present moment. I talk about it all the time. I do it occasionally, but I'm going to work hard at it. Living in the present moment, be fully present, in everything that I'm doing, even if it's, like washing the dishes or something like that. Because I really think that could help my health, my overall health, because my health has taken a hit the past couple of years. And this is the year that I'm really going to focus on that. So I need to be in the present moment for that. So not be like wishing for something else, Jerry, or, regretting that I didn't do something at the right time. I just want to stay in. And I wonder if that could help with your impatience. What do you think?
Well, I was thinking exactly that same thing. Because, I think my impatience is that, I feel like I should be moving on to something else, or there's something I need to be doing or need to be getting to, or whatever, someplace I need to be going. But I think the reality of it is, if we can do what you just said, Debbie, it's a life changer. It's a total game changer, living in the present moment, because that's where God is. God is He's in an eternal now. So every moment of our lives is like the same moment for God. He is present to us, and He wants us to enjoy that present moment and offer it to Him. Offer everything that we do to Him in the present moment. So I'm really happy to hear that you brought that up.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Eternal now. Can I borrow that?
You can have it.
I can have it?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad I was present listening to you. That's really good. Eternal now. I love that. Yeah, and I like how you said it's a real game changer. It really is a spiritual game changer. Okay, so you heard from us. We want to hear from you. Please fill up the phone lines. This is your show. It's a worldwide platform. You do not have to be Catholic to call in. We consider you part of the Take Two family. Where is the lunch bunch? Put your sandwich down. Come on, lunch bunch. Call in right now at 833-288-3986 and tell us what you are going to do for this year. I wonder if some folks are just kind of pretty down, because there was a lot happening yesterday in our country. And I think, did you have that feeling? I kind of woke up with this, I don't know, I just felt down.
It was a chaotic day, to be sure, yesterday,
Yeah.
and one that we hope and pray that we never see repeated in this country. But things are settling down, and hopefully we can just move on with peace, with joy in our hearts. And today we're talking about making self-improvements. Maybe over the past couple of years or more, you have been working on this or that area of your life, and you just want to share how that's come around for you. 833-288-3986. Call up and join us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hey, Take Two family, it's here, and we can't wait for you to see what we've created to help you reach your highest potential in life. It's StandTallToday.com, our brand new website loaded with just the things you're looking for. Those include our team of life coaches, resources picked out just for you, our webinars, book club, and more. Whether you're struggling to find your purpose or feel like you have it pretty much figured out, let us help you today at StandTallToday.com. That's StandTallToday.com.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
Every day of my life since I was 17 years old, I've spent an hour a day minimum with the God of the universe. I would die for Him, that which I'm most afraid of. I would die for Him in an instant, because He's the most important thing in my life. I know Him. And see, that's what it ultimately comes down to. What about you? Where are you at with this God? Because that's the ultimate question. Does God exist? Doesn't He exist? Is Christ God? Isn't He God? Is there life after death? Is there not? Is this all a waste of time, or is this all for a purpose? What's the purpose of life? And so in the Catholic Church, the Church has taught us from the beginning. Who made me? God made me. Why did God make me? God made me to know Him, love Him, and serve Him in this world, so I can be happy with Him forever in the next. The first purpose of life is to know God.
to join us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie by calling 833-288-3986. That's the number to call and share about your new year and the new you that you would like to become during this wonderful year. It's great to be alive. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And it's just amazing. So it is important that we participate and have very robust discussions so that we can learn something, we can grow a little closer to God. Real quickly, Jerry, I just wanted to share, EWTN offers the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass live every day at 8 a.m. Eastern. So to be sure you don't miss out, we can send a link to your email inbox every day. All you have to do is visit EWTN.com and click on subscribe. Isn't that cool? So you get a reminder.
Very easy. EWTN makes it easy, and they have you covered just for whatever you might be looking for, especially news and things like that. So good stuff. All right, talking today about self-improvements. So is there an area or more than one area where, it's a new year where we kind of start over again? St. Teresa of Avila says, begin again. And we can do that every single day of our lives. It doesn't have to be right here at the first of the year, but maybe you've thought about, here's some things, some practical things, Debbie, that we often think about: losing weight and getting in better physical shape, praying more and getting in better spiritual shape, maybe committing to working on a personal relationship that could be better. Spending less time on social media. Maybe that's something you've decided to do to kind of just improve your overall well-being and your mental state of mind. Maybe you picked out a couple of virtues that you want to work on here in this new year. 833-288-3986.
That's really good. I really like that. The only thing I will say, though, is I think, would you agree with this statement that last year, because of the COVID year, and it gave us so much more time to be at home and to think about things, I think people really did start to make some of those changes, and just maybe that, rolling into the new year, they've just become permanent. What do you think about that? Because I know I spent a lot of time thinking about, things.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. We had a lot of time on our hands during this last year, and still do, for that matter, with many of the lockdowns in some areas of the country. So, yeah, I think in many ways, and getting back to what I shared earlier about wanting to be more patient, I think all of this has definitely helped me to do that, because it's been sort of imposed upon me. If you can't go out to certain maybe restaurants or activities or places you used to go, and you're spending more time at home, you have that time just to be by yourself, or with people, if you've got family members at home or what have you, and just you have to learn to just kind of slow things down in life, which is it's not really all that easy for me, because I've been a man on the go for my entire life, as you know. Especially with the pledge drives around the country and things like that. But
Which
that all
coming
has
up.
kind of settled down a little. Yeah, pledge drive season is really right around the corner again. Wow.
Mm-hmm. You're really good. I think you restrain yourself around me, because I tend to be, I'm impatient in the sense that I like to get things done very quickly, but I think I maybe I'm not. Am I as impatient as you are? I don't think I am I?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Marty that, probably.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think you do really good at not getting bored with how fast I move. But you're very smart. See, you're I think very intelligent people you want just things done very quickly. You get them done in your head, and so they just should go that way, and it's so that pace. But they do say that pace can be a little bit unhealthy for the overall body. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's got to slow down, but not too much. And you don't want to go in reverse. You just want to get on a good pace. So how about you guys? Are you guys on a good pace? Did you kick off the new year in just, with a kind of a new, refreshed feeling, and you want to make all these changes, and you're excited and you're looking ahead? Or maybe it's the same old from last year, and you're thinking, I'm not going to add any more resolutions. I'm just going to keep rolling with it and see what happens. We want to hear from you. Let's take a pulse of the Take Two family. You have something to say? now is the time to call in, because as our producer shared with us earlier, this is the perfect time because you have open phone lines. It means you can get right in. You don't have to wait. See, one of the problems we have on Take Two, a little bit of a problem for our listeners, for our callers, is that sometimes they do wait a long time, but they get to listen live. But right now, if you call in, perfect opportunity, Jerry. You get right in. We can chat with you. 833-288-3986.
Yeah, and as we always say, there are a lot of ears tuned in, hearts that are kind of connected with the program right now, and they are kind of pondering this question themselves, not really even sure how to answer that or how to get started on being, improving yourself in this area or that area or what have you. So as always, you are the ones who teach, you inspire, you edify, you bless one another with your calls at 833-288-3986. Here's one for you. Maybe you have determined that as the calendar page flipped over to 2021, maybe you determined, I am going to regain my peace or regain my joy. Maybe it was a little bit stolen from you. It certainly was for me, at least early on, Debbie, in the pandemic and the lockdowns, and then I sort of got a little bit better approach to it. But it's easy to lose our peace with things like that because what's happened to us has been so absolutely radical. So I'd love to hear from anybody if you had a little bit of trouble maintaining your peace in the last year, and you've decided, you know what, with God's help, I'm not going to let all this get me down, discourage me, get me depressed. Rather, I'm going to remain peaceful and somehow even joyful in the midst of everything that's going on.
I like that. That sounded good. But isn't it kind of cool that we're living through history? Think about it. 50, 100 years from now, and hopefully if the history books stay current, stay accurate, the kids will be reading about our situation of 2020. Isn't that kind of interesting? I always think of silly things like that.
Well, they absolutely will be. And that's when we were growing up in school, we'd read about different periods in history and try to imaginatively put ourselves in that situation. Let's just hope and pray that 50 years from now, things are
better,
a whole lot better, than they are right now. Hopefully this year and next year, real soon.
Yes. From your mouth to God's ears. Okay, Beth on Facebook says, in light of what has happened this past year and yesterday, my goal is to be more forgiving and patient. Good job, Beth. Mm-hmm. And then did you want to share Alan?
Alan is watching the video stream on YouTube. He says, my New Year's resolution is unique. So what is mine? It's that I don't have one. For me, if I do one and fail, then it could upset me or bring me down. So instead, I plan to just slowly work on myself for God. And no working out. I just plan to slowly get in the habit of going to the gym 4 to 5 times a week, maybe 6, but no Sundays, of course. So that's from Alan, who is watching the video stream on YouTube. Thanks, Alan, so much. And Beth on Facebook.
We talked about that, about not making resolutions, because it does, they tend to not work out. Some are so extreme that you almost always fail at it right away. And that can really put you in a bad, attitude, or, your outlook changes for that year immediately, because already you start off with something that doesn't feel right. I kind of agree with that. I think we just have to, when you think of something you want to work on, you should just put the effort and the time in it, have a very clear intention, a very committed action, and go for it, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be on it when the calendar page flips, Jerry, I'm always cautious about that, because it's always like when people say, we got to start our diet on Monday, and then everybody hates Mondays, right? You should just, when you're ready to do it, just jump right in. That's what I say anyway. Okay, Karen took us up on the offer, Jerry, and she got right in from Aurora, Missouri. I hope I said that okay. Sirius XM 130. Hi, Karen. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to both of you as well.
Thank you.
And yes, you said it right. It's Aurora, Missouri.
Thank you.
So when you were talking about your resolutions, can you hear me?
Yep, just fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. When you were talking about the resolutions, you said that yours was to be more present. And I always think that a resolution, really, another way to look at it is a goal. Really, it's just a goal. And if people don't have an action plan, then they can't obtain that goal. And so one thing that I like to do is to be more present, for example. Like right now, I'm driving down the road, and when you said be present, I was thinking, well, how do I be present right now as I'm driving? And I was like thinking, look at the rain. It's raining where I am right now. Look at the snow. And I try to focus on the five senses. You know, what do I see? What do I smell? What do I taste? Like I'm drinking coffee. I'm present with my coffee. So that's one way we can be more present with things, I think. The thing that I struggle with is in church to refocus and stay focused on what Father is saying at that time. So what I have learned to do is to bring my little notebook. And so as he's talking, I'll jot down notes, and that helps me stay present instead of wondering what I'm going to have for dinner when, you know, church is over or whatever. But you just also read something from, I guess, a young man who said he doesn't set any resolutions because of failure. And when you're goal setting, it's normal to fail because it takes a good solid 2 weeks to change any behavior that you have. And so when you fail, you just have to reassess your goal and tell yourself, okay, well, what did I do that didn't help me obtain the goal? Maybe I was biting too much, a bigger chunk of the elephant than I should have. My stepmom always used to say, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. You just have to, nibble away. So I think if we're going to be successful with our resolutions, we have to, give it a good try. But then if you fail, reassess and see what you can do in a different way. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Well, that's more than 2 cents, Karen. That is excellent stuff. Thank you. And yeah, I think with regard to the whole idea of failure and how we deal with that, is it really failure or is it just that, we just skipped a certain day or whatever on a path that we were on a journey that we're on? Because, when we voluntarily take things upon ourselves, it's not like, God is imposing that on us as a divine mandate or anything like that. I think it's kind of like Lent, we make sacrifices and commitments and promises during Lent and so forth. And I think we feel worse than we should if maybe we slip and fall a little bit in that. All we have to do is get back up and get moving again. But yeah, and I love the way you talked about
one of the most common resolutions is people want to work out and get healthy, and that's great. It's a great resolution. But sometimes in the morning you're tired, but even getting up out of bed and going downstairs and maybe just sitting in the workout room for 5 minutes is better than not getting out of bed at all. So tomorrow, say, okay, so maybe I only got on the treadmill for 5 minutes and I really wasn't into it, but at least I was on it for 5 minutes. And then write it down. If you write it down, then over a period of time, you can see how you have progressed little by little. And again, taking a little bite of that big elephant, and it's not so overwhelming. And be forgiving. I think what you just said, too, forgiving of ourselves. It's okay if you don't make the goal that day. It's just one day in the scope of the universe. It's only a moment in time. So then give yourself permission to move forward and pray about it and ask for God's help. We forget. Me too. I forget to stop myself. I can't do this on my own. Lord, help me. Help me get up in the morning. Help me have a good night's rest so I can get up in the morning.
Wow. Karen should be a life coach. Karen, you're great.
Well, I'm a retired school counselor, so
there you go.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, there you go. But I don't know if Jerry finished his thought. I just have one quick thought. Did you finish yours, Jerry?
No, go ahead. Sure.
I was just going to say about living in the present moment when you were talking about using your senses and driving in the car and, noticing what's around you or drinking a cup of coffee or something. The other thing, too, I would add to that, which I think is fabulous, is also a healthy appreciation of what you have. Because when we, so many times we do these routine things that we're so used to, like picking up a cup of coffee and drinking it, or even, washing the dishes, or even brushing our teeth, but to really stop and think for a moment, like my mother used to say all the time when I used to kind of snicker at her when she would say it, but she's right. she would say, some people don't have that luxury. Some people don't have a toothbrush. Some people don't have dishes to wash. Some people don't have can't get a cup of coffee. And when you take that next step and you start to think to yourself, wow, I do have this cup of coffee. I do have a kitchen to go to. I do have a bathroom to go to brush my teeth. I do have a cell phone. It's pretty incredible. Your mind and your heart starts to expand. I've felt that anyway. How about you, Karen? Have you ever felt that? Have you ever done that?
Absolutely. And when you're talking about, again, being present, and as I was listening to you before I called in, there was a flock of geese flying, and so I opened my my skylight thing, in my car, and I watched them fly over, and I was thinking, oh, isn't that cool? They're flying right over my car. And then I found myself thinking, God created that creature. I see God in everything. I see God in the snow that's falling down, in the ice. And thank you, God, for putting the ice there. And this goes to what Jerry was saying, because it's slowing me down today, because I have all this to do. But you know what? I'm just going to slow down, enjoy the ice, enjoy the birds that are flying south, and be grateful and be present in the moment. So
beautiful. Yeah.
I think it's a great thing.
It is. It is. Great spiritual writers have written on that. I think is it Jean de Caussade, the sacrament of the present moment, also under the title of Abandonment to Divine Providence. So beautiful, Karen. You've gotten us off to a great start on the calls. More to come here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Self-improvements in 2021. What do you want to share about that? 833-288-3986. Thanks, Karen.
The words of Blessed Carlo Acutis.
All people are born as originals, but many die as photocopies.
And this.
I'm happy to die, because I live my life without wasting even a minute of it on anything unpleasing to God.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Part of the success we've had on the world over, I attribute to certainly my relationship with Mother Angelica and her teaching me early on that when you sit with someone, you talk to them, you share with them, and you create an environment where they will tell you things they wouldn't tell anyone else.
The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. Tonight, 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
It's time for Family Man with Dr. Gregory Popchak.
Jesus told us that we must forgive 70 times 7. But what does forgiveness require us to do? St. Augustine said that forgiving someone means surrendering our natural desire for revenge. In other words, when you stop wanting a bus to run over the person who hurt you, you've pretty much forgiven them. Forgiveness, giving up the desire to hurt someone for having hurt you, is a gift we give ourselves, and we can extend it whether or not the other person has asked for it or deserves it. Reconciliation, though, is a different matter. If forgiveness can be accomplished alone, reconciliation requires two people to, again, as Augustine put it, experience the tranquility that results from right order. It's possible to forgive someone but still not be reconciled to them if the injury they caused still exists or they're unsafe to be around. Forgiveness can be hard, but it may not be as hard as you think. I'm Dr. Greg Popchak, but you can call me Family Man.
To discover more ways faith can enrich your life, visit CatholicCounselors.com.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Join us later today on Catholic Answers Live as we do our best to explain and defend the Catholic faith. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We are so grateful for you, the Take Two family, for being with us today. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. I'm Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgiani. Our producer, Michael Birchfield, is on the controls, and Jeff Burson is handling your social media comments as you watch the video stream on YouTube and Facebook. And we have several more comments that we're going to get to as well. And Ryan Penny is screening your calls at 833-288-3986. Debbie, as we talked today about self-improvements in 2021. It's a good time to be doing that examination and maybe taking some action, having an action plan.
Yeah, a life plan, absolutely. In fact, if you want any assistance on that, please visit us at standtalltoday.com. Standtalltoday.com. We have a growing team of certified coaches that are just really working with folks, and we're seeing some really great rapid growth, and that's a wonderful thing. But before we came back, Jerry, we were talking with Michael, our producer, about this word failure, right? And everybody says when you hear that word failure, it's like you hear that sound, that buzzer sound, that, oh, that's bad. But that's not true. Take another look at life, take another look at words. Okay, when something so-called fails, that's actually quite amazing, because it gives you a wonderful opportunity to grow and to learn and to improve. And it's an opportunity to step in and really see rapid change. So I've never been afraid of the word failure. Have you?
I probably have been, yeah. I've been afraid of failing. I don't know if I've been, when I consciously think about it, but I know subconsciously, a number of times in my life I have been, yeah, absolutely.
We should do a show on that. Let's do a show on that. That would be great. Okay. And we got YouTube and Facebook comments coming in too, so that's good.
Yeah, why don't we get to a couple of those, and then we'll get to Frank in Quebec and the other callers at 833-288-3986. Marie, who is watching on YouTube, says, I've learned no matter how much resolve I have, I won't change anything without the help of the Holy Spirit. My resolution is to listen to the Holy Spirit more. Mm-hmm. Wow, Debbie, that's if we all followed Marie's example on that.
Wow.
Just think how much better we'd all be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are there any more? Or are we going to Frank?
Marcella says, Father Wade Menezes on EWTN Mass suggested we renew our confirmation rite with the gospel today. Move forward with the power of the Holy Spirit. Father Wade coming to EWTN during this week was such a great move, Marcella says. And we all love Father Wade from the Fathers of Mercy. So thank you, Marcella, for your comment and for watching the broadcast on YouTube.
Beautiful. Okay, so as promised, we're going to go to our friend Frank, who's on Facebook. We're waving to you, Frank. Welcome and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you both doing? God bless you for your ministry.
Thank you. God bless you, Frank. Hope that you had a Merry Christmas.
It was edited thanks to Mr. COVID, but we got along. It was good. My daughter showed up with my grandkids, so I got to see 3 out of 10 of them. But we keep in touch.
Good.
Nice.
And my self-improvement and my New Year's resolution. I don't usually like to make New Year's resolutions because every time I did, they always failed. And it's all the past New Year's resolutions that I did make revolved around addiction. So I decided not to do an addiction one this year, and I've been clean and sober since Christmas Eve. So what I'm doing now is I'm working on self-improvement, and I'm trying not to take so much to heart. I'm involved I was involved in my local church in Ottawa, in Orleans, but I had to move to Val-des-Monts, Quebec, because my dad passed away. So now I'm out here, and I can't find an English Roman Catholic church. Anyways, the story goes on. Every time I went to the Sacrament of Reconciliation, when I walked out and they did penance and I walked out of the church, I felt so good, but it took like 3 minutes after that. I was right back down in the pool of despair, and it just, the PTSD doesn't help, but I understand that, and I'm on medication for it, but it's just I don't feel, and I hate saying this, but I don't feel like God has forgiven me. I don't feel that inner peace. So what I do is I try to help. I take on everybody else's problems and try to solve theirs. And when they're happy, I feel that I was worthy of something. And I know that's it's not very good for the health, I'll tell you, because I have ischemia and my heart's not that good. And but I'm going to try and not help out when I can, but start with me first. So. I mean, I do the Liturgy of the Hours on EWTN constantly every day. I'm constantly praying. The Rosary I do at least 4 times a day. I feel at peace when I'm doing it, but then right after, I get up and I walk around and I'm right back down again. So that's my little spiel for today.
Well, that's Frank. Thanks so much for calling. We just love having you part of the Take Two family, and always good to hear from you. And Debbie and I, of course, as you know, we're not psychologists, therapists, trained counselors, or anything. We are certified life coaches. But I would just wonder out loud here, something for you to ponder. And Debbie, you might have thoughts on this. You talked about taking on other people's problems. You said you have a problem with feeling guilty all the time. You go to confession, and that feels good for you. And that is a beautiful thing, because confession is where failure turns into victory by the grace of God. And we are not only restored, but even improved when we go to confession by the grace of God. But I'm just wondering out loud here, this thing of taking on other people's problems, because even if we confess all of our own sins and work through our own stuff and get into a good place with God, if we're piling other people's stuff on top of us, well, then I would think for sure we're going to still feel a little bit guilty or a lot guilty. Debbie, I don't know, am I in the neighborhood, in the ballpark on that?
Absolutely. And Frank, I totally agree with what Jerry was saying. Remember, when we want to help others and assist others, we want to give of our excess. We want to the goodness and the health that flows out of us can be shared and should be shared with others to help others. But when we're always tapping into our reserves, if somehow it's a slight little it feels good to help others because it takes maybe minimizes our own feelings of any type of internal pain. That's not going to always last. The only thing that I would say, Frank, because I think you're just a wonderful individual, and this is the only thing that I would say is that it's important for you to practice letting the Holy Spirit fill you with that love and mercy and forgiveness of God, because it's our jobs. The world is telling us we're not forgiven. The world is telling us, oh, that can't be possible. God doesn't do it that way. But really, he does. And we must work at believing that and trusting that. Because it actually, to be honest with you, it's actually a kind of a sin against the Holy Spirit when we don't accept the love and mercy and forgiveness. So it's important to really work at practicing that God is forgiving and merciful and just. Okay, but that we start the next step is that acceptance. And in that acceptance is the toughest part. But we have to work at it, Frank, because that's really what's happening in your life. You are being forgiven. You are, every day you're evolving and changing. And whatever you're doing, you're either growing closer to God, or by choices, all of us, we go further away. But Frank, to remind ourselves of that, I think is all our jobs to do, because it's hard. The world's telling us the exact opposite. You see where I'm going with that, Frank?
I do, yeah. And it's, it's so easy to fall back into that trap. All you have to do is turn the TV on or look outside. It's so. Yep. Our society has it shouldn't even be called a society now. It's more like a biker gang. It's horrible. People just don't like people anymore. They'll soon as just wave at you and say, "How are you?" and then talk about you behind your back. It's like, I don't even want to talk to anybody anymore. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's hard. And like I say, PTSD and chronic anxiety doesn't help. But I mean, that's my the dish that I was served, and I'm going to have to sit down at the table and work stuff out. But I think you're right. I think acceptance of the Holy Spirit and allowing God to work into me, instead of saying, you know what, well, this didn't work. How come you're not answering me? It's like, I don't drive the bus; He does.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep,
so,
I agree.
Yeah. No. That's yeah. Okay. I thank you again, both of you. God bless you for your ministry. I watch you every day. My cell phone is on pretty much 24/7. It's plugged into EWTN constantly. I get a little confused with Dr. David Anders, but I sit there with the dictionary beside me and everything's okay.
We do as well, Frank.
Yeah, he gives such great answers. Yeah, sometimes you got to kind of go back and listen to him a second time, but. All right, Frank, thank you so much again for calling from Val-de-Mont, Quebec. We appreciate hearing from you and that knowing that you are watching the show every day on Facebook. That is humbling and what a great blessing to us. Thank you, brother, for your phone call, and blessed 2021 to you and yours. You'll remain in our prayers, and we're so grateful for yours. We know you keep us in your prayers.
Yes, thank you, Frank. Happy New Year. Okay, Albert is up next in Buffalo, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross and is a first-time caller. You got right in. That's awesome, Albert. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, to keep it super simple, I guess my New Year's resolutions are to read more and to finally start working out. But I wanted to talk more about my journey of faith and how, like, not necessarily New Year's resolutions, but resolutions to myself have, like, really helped. Like, not necessarily at, like, one specific point in time, but just actually convincing myself to do something. And I used to go to a summer program when I was in high school. It was the Catholic Youth Convention in Buffalo. I'd go to that every year, and then I'd also go to Steubenville, Ohio, the university, and they had a conference there as well. And I went to one and the other every year for about 4 years. And, leaving them, I felt, like, really great about myself. I was really strong in my faith and everything. But then it would, like, die off after a couple of weeks. And then, I'd fall back into, whatever I was doing. And it just kept happening. I'd go somewhere, I'd feel really good, and I'd be like, okay, so this is where I'd really take my faith seriously, and then I just don't, and I'd fall back down. And it wasn't until the last one I went to, because I'm in college now, so I'm not going to them anymore. I'm too old. But the last convention I went to, I actually got to experience the Mass, like, in its full glory. Like, God revealed to me. It's crazy even to talk about it now, but he, like, revealed to me the true essence of the Mass. Like, every single word that was spoken throughout the entire Mass, from, the two readings and the Psalm and the Gospel, the Alleluia, like, everything. I was completely focused in throughout the entire Mass. It was absolutely incredible. And then, of course, the Eucharist being the most amazing part of it all, I saw, I still now I want to doubt whether I actually saw it or not, but, like, I'm sure I did. Like, I saw up above the altar, like, the heavens looking down on it, and, like, that kind of just confirmed for me that everything I believed for so long, like, that was the confirmation that, like, now I'm not allowed to ever doubt again, like, the true meaning of everything. So, like, coming home from that, obviously it strengthened my faith a lot, but, and yeah, I'm not probably as strong now as I was that day, but it hasn't gone down very far since then, because he lit a fire in my soul that, I don't know if you know the words to this particular song, but there's lyrics in a song that say, set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain and I can't control. And, like, that's literally exactly what happened. Like, there's something beating right next to my heart that isn't my heart, that, like, it's just impossible to control or tame or anything. And, it's just really amazing. And so since then, I really haven't had much issue, like, telling myself I can do something or to commit myself to something, because if, what I believed in for so long now is completely confirmed and there's no way I can deny it, then I can do smaller, simpler things like read more and stuff like that. So it kind of just gave me a lot of confidence into, pushing myself further and all that. So it's really great.
Wow, Albert, these are fantastic experiences that you have had, and what great gifts they are from God to you. And it is so beautiful how, especially at the Mass, God really let you into sort of the inner mysteries of what is happening at the Mass and the Eucharist, and that sense that you had, the vision, the sense that you had of the heaven looking down and the angels and all of that, that's real. That's exactly what's happening at the Mass, because it is a representation of the sacrifice of Jesus on Calvary. And one of the reasons I believe God gave you this gift, and he gives it to anybody who he gives it to, is because I go back to the Bible where Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up on the mountain and is transfigured before them. They have this glorious mountaintop experience, which is, so you've had a number of mountaintop experiences, we call them, because that's when you really, really experience who God is and his presence and his majesty, and you just fall so deeply, deeply in love with him, like you were talking about. And then who are the same three that Jesus took into the Garden of Gethsemane? He took Peter, James, and John, and I think he allowed that transfiguration experience, that mountaintop experience, so that when they entered into hardship and Jesus' hour of suffering, that they would not be scandalized and they would not run away. They would hearken back to that mountaintop experience and say, no, we must remain with this man because we have seen his glory. We now know who he is. So I'm not saying that, you're going to start to experience all kinds of challenges and suffering. I'm just saying that for whatever comes your way in life, you have been equipped now by God, like you said, to never, ever doubt again. And I just hope and pray that you share what God has given you with as many people as you possibly can, especially young people who really need that right now. Debbie, what do you think?
That was beautifully said, Jerry. I was just going to say, Albert, you were talking at the beginning of your call about this going on retreats, and we used to call it all the time in youth ministry. You're on this retreat high, right? You come off of these retreats and you're super high. You feel like you're floating, and then all of a sudden the world kind of, the reality hits, and then you just go, well, that's like a deflated balloon, But I agree with Jerry. You were given a personal gift. A real glimpse into the inner reality of what we all experience at what we all should experience at some level at Mass. And it just made me think of the very, very short film. And they call it a short film, Albert, because it's really only a couple minutes long, but it's called The Veil Removed. And I don't know if you ever saw that floating around social media. Somebody sent it, one of our listeners actually sent it to us, and I watched it, and I was so impressed with how it's such an incredible reminder. And I know people who actually watch that every single time before they go to Mass or they watch Mass online. And why do they do that? In order to stay in that place and stay in that real that reality of heaven and earth meeting during the holy sacrifice of the Mass. And it's just a beautiful thing. I agree with Jerry. Albert, you've been given a great gift, a great glimpse. And I hope and pray that you continue to look for more of that, more more understanding, more enlightenment. Count on your guardian angels to help you with that, because remember, our guardian angels illuminate our minds, and then that helps strengthen. They help strengthen our will. So good things are ahead. It was funny. You said I'm too old. You said at one point. I was chuckling, and Jerry and I, we're smiling at one another because you got a lot of life ahead of you, and if you have been given these gifts now, wow, you got to keep in touch with us. I want to see what God has in store for you. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. I'll definitely check that out too. You said The Veil Removed?
Yeah, it's called The Veil Removed. I just pulled it up real quickly, and there's a couple. I mean, there's regular movies, but look for the one that talks about the Mass, and it's a short film. It's only like what Jerry, Beth, 3 or 4 minutes?
7 minutes, I think.
Oh, it's 7 minutes.
7 minutes, yeah.
7 minutes, Albert. If you can spare that, but see if that kind of relates to the imagery that you were gifted with. Okay, it's very interesting because a lot of people are commenting that it's really hitting them deep in their soul. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
That's
sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Albert. Have a blessed 2021, and thanks for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. A first-time caller, no more, but we do hope that you will call again at 833-288-3986, talking today about, self-improvements and so forth. And, I think we've had some great calls so far, Debbie. There's a lot of social media that we might want to get to as well. So
yes, and we're getting comments about Albert's call saying that they just felt his call was so inspiring. So thank you again, Albert, very, very much for your call.
Well, and just to comment on that, just again briefly, what the gift that God has given to Albert, that gift is available for everyone. Sometimes we hear stories like this, especially we may read the lives of the saints, or somebody like Albert calls up and shares his personal experience, this awesome, majestic encounter with God that has fueled his faith and is propelling him forward. And sometimes, if we haven't had that experience, Debbie, I think people are, might tend to think, well, God, that's just for certain people. But no, I mean, God wants to, fill us all up with his Holy Spirit and light all of our hearts on fire for him and help us to see the truth and beauty and glory of the Mass each and every time we attend, the Holy Eucharist. So please, if you don't feel like you have had an experience like that, I'm not saying you're going to have the same exact experience that Albert did, but God would want nothing more than for his children to ask for his gifts. I think St. Paul talks about that in the Bible, is asking for spiritual gifts, praying for them. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you got me going. Praying for them, asking for them, but definitely ask and be open and be willing and be that sponge that I always talk about that you want to absorb. Show me, Lord. Fill me, Lord. Help me, Lord. All the things that you want to do, be open to that and look towards that and have those eyes to see and the ears to hear and really watch how the good Lord will fill you in ways that you can handle. And that's the beauty of it, right, Jerry? In ways that people can handle. He doesn't give too much, doesn't give too little. He's such a great God.
Absolutely. And we have great listeners and great viewers on YouTube and Facebook. And we have a couple of other YouTube comments. One is from Jennifer. My resolutions: pray more and try not to buy anything made in China. Good. Would rather buy something at a thrift store than new if made in China. My best, quote, resolutions and changes seem to come during Lent more than New Year's. Okay, so
I was just going to say, Jennifer, that was right up Jerry's alley because Jerry loves thrift stores, so you might run into him someday. If you hear that voice, just turn around and say, that's Jerry Usher. I'm just teasing. I love thrift stores too, but Jerry seems to be very successful at shopping there. I'm not.
Yeah, one man's junk is another man's treasure, right?
Right. How about Mama Jen?
Mama Jen says, so before New Year's, I decided to start walking and do some gentle stretches every day. I'm a little over 10 days in and feel like it's so much more doable. I always hated the idea of New Year's resolutions. If you want to change something about yourself, start ASAP and keep working on it. And that is a great reminder. We talked about that at the start of the show, Debbie. It doesn't have to be just New Year's. It doesn't have to be just Lent. We could take these steps to not, improving ourselves, but for the benefit of others as well. The better we become, the better we help others be around us.
Yeah, the world becomes better. You can change your culture that way. Did you share about Women Made New on Saturdays?
I did not get around to that yet.
Can
no,
I?
Go for it. You can,
okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Women Made New, Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Women Made New is real talk from Kristalina Everett and her guests on Catholic marriage and family in the 21st century. You really will love the show. Please tune in to Women Made New on Saturdays at 12 Eastern Time. Jerry?
Debbie?
I was just going to say, we do that. Jerry and I have been doing that for 10 years now, and I still laugh every single time. It's hilarious. It's so silly, but it's true. Jerry and I like the movie. I'm going to take that back. Jerry and I love the movie What About Bob? Okay, if you haven't seen that movie, it was, what was it, in the 80s? Was it the 80s?
It's been a while now. I've seen it about 25 times.
Yeah. But in that movie, they talk about this idea of baby stepping, right? But it's so true. Taking those next steps, doing the next right thing. It's so very important. And I really think that sometimes, Jerry, you were talking about being impatient at the beginning of the show. Sometimes we rush. We want that ending, right? We want that final result. But it's in those steps, those baby steps, that we really see a lot of, growth and a lot of understanding of ourselves and, what our perseverance, our endurance, everything that makes us up as who we are, the character we have. So I just don't want people to rush through to the ending. Enjoy the journey. I guess that's my takeaway. What do you think?
No, I couldn't agree more. I tend to be someone who doesn't take on a project until I think I have time to get all the way through to the end of it, and then I at the same time, I know people who have 10 projects going at a time, and they can work on this one a little bit, then this one, and so, yeah, I think we're all wired a little bit differently, but... Yeah. This was a great show. I was very pleased, and I learned a lot. Well, tomorrow we have, I think, a very important program. We're in the year of St. Joseph. Pope Francis has proclaimed this a special year. So, Debbie, tomorrow we want to know what people are doing to make the most of the year of St. Joseph, learning more about him, drawing closer to him, and praying to him and asking for his help.
Yeah, maybe doing the consecration book book by Father Donald Calloway. It's a great book. Jerry and I did it. I think you'll love it. But I can't wait for that show tomorrow. Please email us if you have any more comments or feedback from this show. Take2 at EWTN.com. Until tomorrow.